Hello friends, in today's class we'll be discussing about decolonization. In international relations, colonialism and decolonization are two important chapters. In fact, the process of colonialism started in 17th century and continued till 20th century. So decolonization is a process that ended the process of colonialism. So the end of colonialism is called decolonization. So decolonization was successful in 20th century. So in today's class, we'll be discussing what are the causes of decolonization, what are the results of decolonization, and first of all, what is the meaning of decolonization, what are its important features, what are the causes that led to the process of decolonization, and what are the agencies and institutions that have contributed for the process of decolonization, and various other things. So in international relations, decolonization is a very important chapter which describes how countries of Asia, Africa, and South America are liberated from the colonial rule and the yoke of colonial administration, and they have declared themselves and of course by the colonial powers political independence, granting of political independence. So decolonization is a process of reversing the colonial process and decolonizing the Asian countries, African countries, and Latin American countries by the European powers is called as decolonization. The process of ending colonialism is called as decolonization. As a result of decolonization, most of the countries have got independence and they have retained their sovereignty. Here we see Indian flag, which is a reflection of Indian independence. And we also see the four lions and a Ashoka Stupa with a Dharmachakra. It's a symbol of national sovereignty. So the process of ending colonialism is called decolonization. As a result of decolonization, the political process of having independence and formulating and drafting of their own respective constitutions has begun, and decolonization has restored the nation's power of self-determination by people, and it has restored the sovereignty and territorial integrity of the nation states, particularly in Asia, Africa, and Latin American countries. So the process of decolonization started after First World War with the establishment of mandatory system. In fact, the process of colonialism started in 17th century as European powers like Spain, Portugal, Dutch, that means Holland, Great Britain, England, France, Italy, Germany, and other countries, they have come to Asia, Africa, and Latin America in search of new lands, and they have captured certain countries and areas and have controlled and made political domination in all these countries. So that is called as colonialism, and colonialism was started in 17th century, and in 18th and 19th century it consolidated, and by 20th century it has seen the decline of colonialism. As a result of decline of colonialism, decolonization started. So the process of decolonization started way back in 20th century, the first 2 decades, and after that, after First World War, the process of decolonization is accelerated with the establishment of mandatory system. So this is how decolonization process started after the First World War with the establishment of mandatory system. And decolonization recognizes the nation's right to self-determination. The people of any country have a right to determine their government. They determine the nature of government, they determine the nature of their constitution, and determine the system of governance they need to have, determine the quantum of liberty, equality, and rights they need to have, and various other things. So decolonization refers to the nation's right to self-determination. And all the people in various nations have a right to be independent or to be a part of any other country or to be autonomous by having suzerainty in a sovereign country. So this is how decolonization recognizes the nation's right of the people to have self-determination. So it recognizes the right of self-determination of the people. So many countries in the world, many people in the world have fought for the right to self-determination, and many of the millions of people, billions of people wanted their countries to be independent, and they want self-determination on the nature of government and the nature of the constitution and quantum of rights, liberty, equality, and so on. So this is how it recognizes, the process of decolonization recognizes every nation's right to have self-determination. So this is an important aspect. And after Second World War, the process of decolonization accelerated with the establishment of United Nations. We all know that United Nations, popularly known as UNO, United Nations Organization, it started on September 24th, 1945. So with the establishment of United Nations Organization after Second World War, the process of decolonization started when India got independence in 1947. Likewise, many other countries have got their independence in respective years. So this is how all the colonial powers have granted political independence to the nations of Asia, Africa, and Latin America. So this process of granting political independence to native people by colonial powers is called as decolonization. This decolonization process started after the First World War with the establishment of Mandatory Commission as part of League of Nations, but it is accelerated with the establishment of Trusteeship Council as a part of United Nations. So this is how Second World War is a major milestone, and after the Second World War, the process of decolonization is accelerated, more so with the establishment of United Nations Organization, that's called UNO. Here we see the UNO building. So it is situated in New York. UNO was established in 1945, October 24th. Every year we celebrate UNO Day on October 24th. So UNO has different organs. So General Assembly, Security Council, Economic and Social Council, International Court of Justice, likewise Trusteeship Council. So this Trusteeship Council is endowed with the duties of making people self-reliant on the matters of governance in colonies captured by various colonial powers in the erstwhile colonialism. And this Trusteeship Council should make all the people of the various territories which have not granted independence more self-reliant on their governments. So this is how, after the Second World War, the process of decolonization accelerated with the establishment of United Nations. And as a part of United Nations, Trusteeship Council was also started. So besides this, there are powerful movements throughout the world in many countries, like Asian countries, African countries, Latin American countries, that have resulted in decolonization. For example, Indian national movement led by Indian National Congress, Mahatma Gandhi, has led powerful movements for self-rule. We have the Swadeshi movement, the Home Rule movement, non-cooperation movement, civil disobedience movement, Quit India movement. So this is how Mahatma Gandhi has fought for self-rule in India, and he was successful in 1947 by clinching a deal with the Britishers in the process of getting political independence granted. So this is how powerful movements for national political independence resulted in decolonization. I'm just referring India as an example, but the process of decolonization started in various other countries of the Asia, Africa, and Latin America also. In Africa, for example, Julius Nyerere, Kenneth Kaunda, Robert Mugabe, Patrick Lumumba, Nelson Mandela, Sam Nujoma. So these are the various leaders who fought for national independence in their respective countries, and they have made various efforts in getting decolonization in their respective countries. And they have got their political independence from their erstwhile European rulers. So this is called as decolonization. So that means powerful movements for political independence resulted in the decolonization. And 20th century marked the end of colonialism and success of decolonization. So we see 20th century is a great century with the end of colonialism, in particular in three major continents of the civilized world, the Asia, Africa, and Latin America. So all these countries have got their independence in 20th century. For example, in Asian continent, we have South Asia, Southeast Asia, Central Asia, and West Asia. So in Southeast Asia, we have Malaysia, Singapore, Thailand, Burma, Indonesia, Philippines, Japan, Laos, Vietnam, Korea. So these are various countries. And in Central Asia, we have Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan, Turkmenistan, and other countries. And in West Asia, we have Iran, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, Oman, Kuwait, Yemen, and other countries. Likewise, in South Asia, we have India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nepal, Bhutan, Sri Lanka, and of course now we have Afghanistan also joined in SAARC. So these are called South Asian countries. So almost all the countries of the Asian continent were under the yoke of colonialism for over 2 to 3 centuries, and they have got their independence in 20th century as a result of powerful nationalist movement in their respective countries. So likewise, in African continent also, there are powerful nationalist movements in Nigeria, Kenya, Botswana, Rhodesia, Zimbabwe, South America, South Africa, Southwest Africa, Algeria, Morocco, Tunisia, and various other countries. Great leaders like Julius Nyerere, Kenneth Kaunda, Robert Mugabe, Sam Nujoma, Nelson Mandela, Bishop Desmond Tutu, Patrice Lumumba. So these are various leaders that have contributed for their powerful nationalist movements in their respective countries and got their independence. So 20th century is a great century in the history of mankind, as it marked the end of colonialism and success of decolonization. So this is an important aspect. In today's lesson, we'll be discussing about decolonization. First of all, we'll be discussing about decolonization, its meaning and causes of decolonization, results of decolonization, emergence of third world. And after that, we'll be discussing the institutions that have expedited the process of decolonization and important leaders of decolonization. After that, we'll make a critical evaluation and a summary of this lesson. So first, we'll be discussing about decolonization and its meaning. After that, we'll be discussing various causes for the process of decolonization. As we have seen, the process of decolonization started in 20th century. So as soon as the First World War is over, the process of decolonization started. And after the Second World War, with the establishment of United Nations, Trusteeship Council is also established as a part of UNO, and the process of decolonization is much more expedited. So this is also one of the reasons for the decolonization, and there are various reasons. So first we'll be discussing about decolonization, its meaning, and of course its features. And secondly, we'll be discussing about the causes of decolonization. And thirdly, we'll be discussing the results of decolonization. And fourthly, as a result of decolonization, how the third world countries have emerged, the emergence of the third world countries. That's called Afro-Asian nationalism, and the emergence of Africa, Asia, and South America as third world. And the classification of countries on the basis of the process of development, like first world, second world, and third world. And how the third world countries are described by Mao Zedong and Frantz Fanon. These are the two important leaders who have, the philosophers who have classified the countries of the world into three different types: the first world countries, the second world countries, and third world countries. So we'll be discussing the emergence of third world in the process. And after that, we'll also be discussing about the institutions that expedited the process of colonization, decolonization. In fact, the process of decolonization started after the First World War, and after the Second World War, it is expedited. By 1960s and 70s, the process of decolonization is almost complete. So in a span of 70 years, from 1900 to 1970, two particular institutions are responsible for the process of decolonization. The first one is, as a part of the League of Nations, the Permanent Mandatory Commission that has initiated so many steps. And in the United Nations organization, UNO, there is another organization called Trusteeship Council. So these are the two important organizations that have made efforts for the decolonization, and the process of decolonization is expedited with these institutions, and we'll be discussing about that. And after that, we'll also be discussing about some of the important leaders of decolonization. As I'm time and again telling you that the powerful nationalist movement throughout the world in general, and Asia, Africa, and South America in particular, have led to the process of decolonization. Leaders like Mahatma Gandhi, Jawaharlal Nehru, Julius Nyerere, Kenneth Kaunda, Bishop Desmond Tutu, Nelson Mandela, Patrice Lumumba, and various other leaders have vigorously contributed, and they have made serious efforts to decolonize their countries from the yoke of colonialism. So these are some of the important leaders. And after that, we'll make a critical evaluation of the whole process of decolonization. And we'll be discussing this lesson as part of international relations. So now we'll be discussing the meaning and features of decolonization. Decolonization is a process of ending centuries-old colonial rule and granting political independence to people is called as decolonization. So it has two important aspects here. One is it's a process of ending centuries-old colonial rule. The second one is granting political independence to people. So these are the two important aspects of decolonization. One is it's a process of ending colonial rule, as Britishers have ended their rule in 1947 in India. Secondly, they have also granted political independence to people. So that's how in 1947, August 15, a day to remember, on that day, political independence are granted to the people of India. So here there are two things here in the decolonization process. The first one is the process of ending centuries-old colonial rule. European colonial powers have captured so many areas of Asia, Africa, and Latin America. As we have seen, European powers like Great Britain, France, Spain, Dutch, Norway, Portugal, Italy, Germany, and Russia, and these are the colonial powers that have captured territories in Asia, Africa, and Latin America. So they have made foreign rule or colonial rule in these countries. So decolonization is a process of ending the colonial rule of a foreign country and some countries of Asia, Africa, and Latin America. So ending of centuries-old colonial rule is one aspect. And second one is granting political independence to people. They have also granted political independence to people. So these are the two important aspects of decolonization. And decolonization has certain important aspects, features. The first and foremost feature, important feature is it ends foreign political rule. All the European powers have ruled Asian countries, African countries, and Latin American countries. So there was foreign political rule from 17th century to 20th century in Asia, Africa, and Latin America, in most of the countries. So this foreign rule, foreign political rule came to an end as a process of decolonization. So this is one thing. So decolonization process facilitated the process of ending the foreign political rule. And secondly, that the process of decolonization has established national sovereignty and political independence. So after ending political rule of foreign countries, all the people have established their own political independence. They have drafted for their own constitutions, as Dr. B.R. Ambedkar is instrumental in writing the Indian Constitution. So various leaders in various other countries of Asia, Africa, and Latin America have come forward and drafted their own respective constitutions in their respective countries. So that's how the process of decolonization has established national sovereignty and political independence. So it has granted political independence to the people, and it has also facilitated the people to establish the national sovereignty. So this is the second important aspect of decolonization. And third one is, it recognizes the nations and people's right to self-determination. So people have a right to self-determination, as we have seen in the case of so many countries. So people have a right to have self-rule. So the right to self-determination, right to determine the form of government, the form of sovereignty, the form of or the nature of government that need to have. So these are some of the issues of self-determination, and people have a right to determine what type of government they require and what type of governance that they want, and what is the quantum of liberty, equality, and justice that they require. So this is how people have a right to determine by themselves on the nature of government, on the nature of governance, on the ideology of the governance, on the arrangements of governments and drafting of the constitution and so on. So it recognizes the nation's right to people's right to self-determination. So this is another important aspect. After that, the process of decolonization ends the economic exploitation by foreign rule and external agencies. So it ends the foreign exploitation, economic exploitation by foreign rule and external agencies. So we have seen in the case of India that Britishers have come to India and made exploitation, economic exploitation, and they have virtually exploited all our natural resources, and Indian revenues were taken to Britain for the development of Britain, and the human resources in India were used as soldiers in the wars that they have fought, the First World War and Second World War. So this is how the Britishers have exploited India economically. There was a kind of an economic exploitation by Britishers as foreign rulers and their agencies, their external agencies on India. So as the process of decolonization started, the end of economic exploitation by foreign rulers and external agencies. This is an important aspect. So here we see the countries of Asia, Africa, and Latin America. So these three continents, the countries of these three continents are decolonized, and these countries are now claiming themselves as the third world countries, with the development as the basis for the classification of governments. So the first one is Asian continent, second one is African continent, third one is South American continent. In Asia, we have India, China, likewise Nepal, Bhutan, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Myanmar, Malaysia, Singapore, Thailand, Laos, Vietnam, North Vietnam, South Vietnam, North Korea, South Korea, Philippines, Indonesia, and so on countries. And in Africa, we have South Africa, Southwest Africa, Namibia, erstwhile Rhodesia, and presently Zimbabwe, Zaire, Botswana, Egypt, Eritrea, Somalia, and various other countries. And likewise in South American continent, we have Brazil, Chile, Peru, Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, Uruguay, Paraguay, Argentina, and various other countries. So these countries, the countries of Asia, the countries of Africa, and the countries of Latin America, are decolonized and the resurgence of these countries towards the process of development is called as third world resurgence. So as a process of decolonization, there was a resurgence of third world towards development. So the countries of Asia, Africa, and Latin America were decolonized. Now let us discuss about the causes of decolonization. So there are so many causes for the process of decolonization. And first and foremost important cause is nationalism in Afro-Asian nations. Nationalism means there were nationalist movements in various countries. So that's called as nationalism. So nationalism arose from the education system. In fact, all the colonial powers have established their own European education system in Africa, Asia, and Latin America. As a result of this education system, people have come to know about the Western political philosophy and the philosophical ideas of liberty, equality, justice, rights, constitution, parliamentary form of government, democracy, secularism, socialism, and various other ideological orientations. So nationalism among the people denotes the patriotic feelings, a sense of oneness, sense of belonging of the people towards their country. So that is called nationalism, and nationalism has led to nationality. The questions of nationality has led to nations' right to self-determination, and people have established independent nations based on the principles of nationalism. And there are so many important leaders that have fought for nationalism, like Mahatma Gandhi. Here, Mahatma Gandhi leading the Dandi March is given here. And likewise, Jawaharlal Nehru, Julius Nyerere, Kenneth Kaunda, Patrice Lumumba, Nelson Mandela, Sam Nujoma, Bishop Desmond Tutu, and various other leaders. So nationalism in Asia African countries is the first and foremost reason for the causes for decolonization. And second one is nullification of racial superiority. So all the colonial rulers have propagated certain false theories among the people of Asia, Africa, and Latin America. Among these theories, one theory particularly very popular is the theory of white man's burden. And this theory of white man's burden enhances the racial superiority of the colonial powers. In fact, the colonial powers used to say that they were sent by God to Asia, Africa, and Latin America to orient the local people towards the civilizational values. So it is a God-sent opportunity for them to convert the illiterate people into literate and people with wisdom. So that's how the white man's burden has given a new role to the superior races of European powers, which were ruling the Asian countries, African countries, and South American countries. But this theory is a false theory. This theory only reinforces racial superiority of Europeans on the local people. So that's why people who are educated have nullified these theories. So nullification of racial superiority and people's disbelief about these theories of racial superiority, which were in vogue, also led to the process of decolonization. So this is also another important reason. And third one is League of Nations, which was established after First World War, also started the process of decolonization. In fact, I was telling you about the Permanent Mandatory Commission established as a part of League of Nations. It was established to sort out the question of ruling the colonies held by erstwhile Germany, Turkey, and Italy, which were defeated in the First World War. So Germany has certain colonies, Turkey has certain colonies. When these two countries were defeated in the First World War, so the Permanent Mandatory Commission was established for giving the responsibility of ruling the colonies to some other powers. So that's the duty of the Permanent Mandatory Commission. And as part of League of Nations, the colonial territories were given independence by Permanent Mandatory Commission. So League of Nations also made certain serious efforts in the process of decolonization. After that, there were colonial revolts between two wars. In fact, 20th century has witnessed two powerful wars, the First World War and Second World War. The First World War was held between 1914 to 1918, and Second World War was held between 1939 to 1945. So in between these two wars, from 1919 to 1939, in a span of 20 years, there was revolutionary nationalism in many countries. Like in India, we have Bhagat Singh, Sukhdev, Chandrasekhar Azad. They have become revolutionaries, and revolutionary nationalism was propagated among these countries. Likewise, there were revolutions, there were revolts in Morocco, Algeria, and Tunisia. So these revolts have frightened the colonial powers, and colonial powers were forced to give independence to these countries. So the colonial revolts between the two world wars is also another important reason for the process of decolonization. And thirdly, United Nations Organization and decolonization. United Nations Organization has established a separate commission for decolonization. That's called the Trusteeship Council. The Trusteeship Council. So the Trusteeship Council enabled the people, particularly in some areas where people are not in a position to rule themselves. The Trusteeship Council have adopted those areas and governed those areas and brought the people with the ideas of self-rule, home rule, and others. So this is how the UNO also propagated decolonization process and accelerated the process. So decolonization of Africa and Asia is another important reason, and that means the powerful nationalist movements in Africa and Asia also led to the process of decolonization. And granting political independence. So these are some of the important causes for decolonization. First of all, we have nationalism in Afro-Asian nations. Second one is nullification of racial superiority. And third one is League of Nations and colonial territories. And fourth one is colonial revolts between the two world wars. As 20th century has witnessed two mighty wars, the First World War and Second World War. So the colonial revolts in general and colonial revolts in Algeria, Tunisia, and Morocco in particular have frightened the colonial rulers, and which had to give independence to these countries. So colonial revolts between the two countries also contributed for the national independence and the process of decolonization. And likewise, UNO, United Nations Organization, which is established in 1945, October 24th. So it has established a separate commission called the Trusteeship Council, and this Trusteeship Council has brought awareness among the people of the colonies where people are not in a position to rule themselves. It has given training to them. It has nurtured them with the feelings of self-rule. And UNO, with the help of Trusteeship Council, also has given apprentice to the people of different territories for struggling with colonialism. And the process of decolonization is also started with the UNO and Trusteeship Council. After that, decolonization of Afro-Asian countries. In Africa, we have countries like Nigeria, Kenya, Zimbabwe, Zaire, Botswana, Egypt, Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, Eritrea, Somalia, Ethiopia, South Africa, Southwest Africa, Namibia, and various other countries. So these countries, as members of United Nations, also started the process of decolonization. And wherever the people are not in a position to assert for independence or decolonization, the UNO, with the help of Trusteeship Council, has propagated the idea of political independence and facilitated the readiness among the local people to rule themselves. And likewise, decolonization of Asia and African countries is also very rampant in 20th century. And now let us see what are the results of decolonization. The first and foremost result of decolonization is getting political independence by colonial powers. So granting political independence by colonial powers is the first and foremost result. So all the colonial powers, particularly Britain, France, Spain, Portugal, Dutch, Italy and France, Italy and Germany, they have granted political independence. As these powers are called as colonial powers, they have captured the colonies and ruled these colonies for centuries together. These colonial powers, as a result of powerful nationalist movements in respective countries, have granted political independence. So colonial powers have granted political independence to various countries. So this is the result of decolonization. And secondly, every country has sovereignty and territorial integrity. So the concept of sovereignty and territorial integrity are restored, and every country was very assertive of its sovereignty, sovereign power, and the power of territorial integrity. So this is also restored. And thirdly, the process of development in Asia and Africa is also started. So these countries are continuously termed as underdeveloped countries or developing countries. So the process of development was not at all taken place. Even if the process of development was there, it was only nominal or marginal. But after the independence, serious process of development is also equally started parallelly, the process of decolonization. So decolonization process and process of development are started simultaneously, and the process of development in Asia and Africa was started due to the results of decolonization. Decolonization has given rise for the process of development. And also, the decolonization process has also resulted in the birth of non-alignment movement. So non-alignment means not aligning with any superpower and keeping itself its political independence is called non-alignment. This movement was started by Nehru, Sukarno, Marshal Tito, and others. So non-alignment movement was a foreign policy choice to be neutral between America and Russia, or Soviet Union, during the times of Cold War. So this non-aligned movement was taken birth as a result of decolonization process, and decolonization process have brought all the countries of Asia, Africa and Latin America together only to form the non-alignment movement. And of course, with the process of decolonization, there are so many problems among the decolonized countries. For example, the Britishers have not earmarked or demarcated the borders clearly between the countries. So they have left haphazardly without even drawing the borders between one country and the other country properly. As a result, all the decolonized countries resorted to wars, whether in neighboring countries. So this is one thing. Secondly, there is a lot of unemployment and underemployment in these countries. So the newly independent countries have to face the problem of economic poverty, malnutrition, ill health, high mortality rates, infant mortality rate, maternal mortality rates, and various other things. So the problems of decolonized countries are taken care of, and the newly established governing countries, the governments have taken these problems and they have established certain norms for the enrichment of these countries without any problems. This is called the emergence of third world. In fact, the word third world is used by two philosophers, Mao Zedong and Franz Fanon. Mao Zedong, in his three world theory, has propagated that there are three worlds: the first world, the second world, and third world. According to Mao, the first one is America and Russia are considered as the first world countries, and second world countries are all the countries of Western Europe are called as second world countries, and the countries of Asia, Africa, and Latin America are called as third world countries. But another important political philosopher from Asia who wrote the book Wretched of the Earth. So in that book, Wretched of the Earth, Frantz Fanon describes that there are three types of governments and states in the world. And he has classified these states into three types based on the process of development. So highly developed countries are called as developed countries, and the medium developed countries are developing countries, and the countries which are still developing are called as less developed countries, or LDCs, less developed countries. So this is how Mao Zedong and Frantz Fanon have made various classifications of first world countries, second world countries, and third world countries. So this is an important aspect. And there are various institutions that have helped the process of decolonization, particularly in the League of Nations. There was an organization called Permanent Mandatory Commission. So Permanent Mandatory Commission was established as part of the League of Nations to govern the territories ruled by Germany and Turkey. Since Germany and Turkey were defeated in the First World War, so as part of the Versailles Treaty, League of Nations was started, and this League of Nations has insisted that the territories which are not at all ruled, the territories which are ruled by erstwhile Britain, the territories which are ruled by Turkey and Germany, and these Turkey and Germany were defeated in the First World War. So the colonies of Germany and Turkey were taken care of by other countries, other successful countries. So through Permanent Mandatory Commission, the League of Nations has granted the responsibility of governing these countries on some of the developed countries. And likewise, United Nations Organization, it has established another organization called Trusteeship Council. So this Trusteeship Council is a unique body that brings awareness among the people on the need for self-rule. So United Nations Organization under Trusteeship Council has facilitated the local people to govern themselves. So this is how there is these two important organizations are very noteworthy in the decolonization process. And there are so many important leaders who have propagated patriotism, nationality, and various other things. Some of the important leaders are given here. Mahatma Gandhi propagated non-violence. Jawaharlal Nehru propagated Panchasheel. Nelson Mandela of South Africa propagated equality. Julius Nyerere from Nigeria has propagated freedom or liberty. And Sukarno of Indonesia has suggested economic justice. So these are some of the rulers, and there are also some of the philosophers. So these philosophers are important in knowing about the process of decolonization. Now let us critically evaluate the whole lesson. First of all, decolonization process is started after the First World War. As soon as the First World War is over, the League of Nations is established. As a part of League of Nations, the Permanent Mandatory Commission was established. And this Permanent Mandatory Commission was given the authority to allocate the colonies which were ruled by Germany and Turkey before the war. So the decolonization process motivates self. And secondly, it reflects the nationalistic aspirations. So that means wherever decolonization is there, political independence is there. So as a result of political independence, people have formulated their policies by their own, and they have also drafted their constitutions on their own. So this is how there is a constituent assembly. There are principles of self-rule, and there are also principles of democracy, socialism, secularism, and various other ideological moorings. So decolonization process has motivated the self-rule. This is one thing. Secondly, it reflects the nationalistic aspirations of the people. So in any country of Asia, Africa, and Latin America, all the people are having the nationalistic aspirations, like the sense of belonging to the country, and people are patriotic to their respective countries, and people loving the country, people have a sense of belonging to the country. So these are called as the nationalistic aspirations. So these nationalist aspirations reflected in the process of decolonization. Likewise, foreign policy choices. So decolonization has widened the foreign policy choice of various countries, whether to go with America or to go with Russia or to become independent like non-aligned movement countries. So this is how we'll see how the colonialism is crumbled down and decolonization process started. And this decolonization process is a result of various institutions and great powerful nationalist movements. So decolonization process also led to the emergence of Asia and Africa. That's also called as third world countries. So with the emergence of third world countries, we also see the resurgence of Asia-Africa nationalism. So this is how decolonization motivates self-rule. It reflects nationalist aspirations, and it is also a foreign policy choice. So friends, this is all about decolonization process. Now let us discuss about in a nutshell, we'll be discussing about what is decolonization and how the process started and everything. Decolonization is a process of granting political independence to various countries ruled by colonial powers, ending the political domination of colonial countries, colonial rulers, and granting political independence. And this is very rampant in very evident and vigorously decolonization process was taken up in Asia, Africa, and Latin America. And to accelerate this process, two institutions have lent their support during the First World War and shortly after the First World War. As a part of League of Nations, the Permanent Mandatory Commission was established, and that has propagated decolonization. And after the Second World War, certain countries like South Asian countries, Southeast Asian countries, Central Asian countries, West Asian countries, African countries, and South American countries. So these countries have South Asian countries, Southeast Asian countries, West Asian countries, African countries, and Southeast Asian countries, South American continent, the countries of South American continent have made certain powerful nationalist movements, and as a result of these movements, decolonization process was made easy. And after that, foreign policy choices. All the countries have a choice, either to go with America or with the Soviet Union, or to be independent. And most of the countries have chosen non-alignment as a policy choice. So friends, this is all about decolonization.